Happy Wednesday, everybody, and happy PSVR2 launch day. Can you believe it? We are finally at the day that PlayStation VR2 is out in the world for people to enjoy. As you may have noticed from the very short countdown for the show, this was a very rushed last-minute show. Yesterday, I believe I live streamed for about 10 hours. And it was the most manic morning. I woke up and I thought I had everything set up because I wasn't streaming here. I was streaming downstairs in my living room space, and certain parts of my live stream weren't working. A lot of people always compliment me on how I seem to have everything together here, but it's a very, very long process of watching hundreds of YouTube tutorials, looking at guides on particular pieces of equipment, and then you buy it and it feels like a gamble because you spend lots of money and then you've got to piece them together. A lot of hoping that it works. And about an hour before I was going live, it wasn't working. And so I was on my phone to Apple because it was to do with my Apple computer. And then I headed down to the store in town. I spent hundreds of pounds on new equipment, got back, it still wasn't working. However, I found a quick fix because quick fixes are usually the way you do things. And then from about 1:30 in the afternoon to it must have been about, I don't know, like 3-4 o'clock, I then took a bit of a break and then did another stream for about 3 hours. And then from about 9-10 o'clock at night, I live streamed to about 4 in the morning. It was a 6-hour stream where we were just diving into as many PlayStation VR games as possible. And it has been absolutely incredible. So with all that said, I'm a bit flustered, but we have an amazing show for you today at a time that I know there are many people live streaming right now. So there's a lot of battling for attention. And there's a lot of people that have got their headsets on. And there are some people that perhaps don't know about this show, and that's what we do every week, is bring on more people on board, welcome them to the show. And if you are new to the show, let me introduce myself. My name is Myles Dyer. This is Myles Dyer Live, where every Wednesday at this time, and if you're watching on replay, that time too, I will be hosting a show where we hang out, lovely chat, as you can see in the live chat, and we talk about everything from the very fun, maybe it's about gaming, maybe we're doing quizzes or popular culture, and other times it's more serious conversations. It could be about mental health and well-being. It might be about life hacks or world events. Last week we were talking about, was last week Singles Awareness Day? Not long after 2 days after Valentine's Day, about what it's like to be single in the modern age, and is it a thing to be concerned about? It was a really, really fruitful conversation. And so all of these are available on replay. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell to be notified about all future live streams. And I know that there are going to be a lot of people tuning in who have found me because of what I do in the gaming space. And the gaming space has blown up so much this week. So much, in fact, that, and this kind of blew my mind, that one of the VR games that's come out called What the Bat, they were sharing review scores so far, and you've got like Games Radar, you've got The Verge, you've got VG247, big gaming publications, and then you've got It's Stupid in a really fun way, Myles Dyer. And I know this is just a tweet, but it really was something that blew me away. And it's not just things like that. The conversations I've had, as some of you know, and sorry, I'm going to be darting around the place a lot first thing because I've got a lot to say. My friend Rob, who is one of the hosts for PlayStation's official YouTube show, PlayStation Access, he was trying it out yesterday, playing Gran Turismo, this driving game. And, it's one thing for him to, shout out to one of his friends. But he actually gave a shout out to PlayStation VR Without Parole, the show that I host every Friday. And will be hosting tonight after this show for a special Gamescast Live. Oh, it's going to be a long day today. But yeah, look, I'm just going to take a breath. and say I'm very excited. I'm very sleep deprived. And I am so grateful for everyone who's tuned in today. So how you all doing, chat? Great to see everyone. Some people have got theirs already. Some people not so much, and are still waiting. And I hope for you, because I remember when PlayStation 5 came out, I took the week off work, and it didn't come until like 2 days after launch, and I was like, oh no. In this circumstance, I had this maybe a week before everyone, and everyone's like, oh, that's amazing. Why are you so excited about launch day? Is it because PlayStation gave you a free one? No. The reason I love virtual reality is it's not an isolating medium. Although you would think so by putting on a mask and then, being shut off from everyone. No, I love seeing other people play it. I love hearing people's experiences and, perspectives on the technology. And I love playing multiplayer. I love sharing virtual spaces with other people, which is what I got to do today with it being launch day. And I'll talk a bit more about that later. But a little more bit of housekeeping. Today, I'm really excited to announce 2 things regarding PSVR 2. Sin Studios, who are responsible for the game Swordsman, have announced it's coming to PlayStation 5. So I'll be playing a trailer for that in just a little bit. And they might have some key codes to hand out. So any of you VR gamers out there that perhaps want to get your hands on a copy of it, stick around to find out how. And we'll be giving some of them away. But secondly, this was something that I had in mind the last few days, and it is something we really just confirmed in the last 30 minutes. We've been in talks all day. And as many of you know, I want to try and get more guests on the show. Well, today I'm going to be joined by Leon, who is a part of Better Than Life, the dev studio behind one of the very close games to my heart, which is Kayak VR Mirage. If you don't know about that game, stick around, because I'll be showing you some footage, and we'll have one of the devs to talk about not only just their game and how they built it, for someone like me that knows very little about development, and for maybe some of you out there that don't really know much about virtual reality or the gaming space. They'll also talk about just, PlayStation VR and, just have a casual chat. So that'll be in about 20 minutes. So stick around for that. Also, on Friday was my birthday. I am now 36 years old. Thank you to everyone that sent me all the wonderful birthday wishes. And my cousin Julie got me this, which is an infinity gauntlet. And as you know, basically you wear it, and if I snap it, half of the universe dies. So what a lovely birthday present. But actually, if you turn it around, it's a bottle opener. So thank you to my cousin Julie for that. Please don't snap. please don't snap. Please don't snap. So with about 10 plus hours of live streaming yesterday, I'm very cautious of not just like flooding my YouTube channel with live streams, but it's hard not to on a special day like this. But as you know, at the weekends I do a Let's Play live stream, and on Saturday, although I don't have a thumbnail for it yet or have it scheduled in, I am going to be live streaming a game that I know many of you have been waiting for me to play, and that would be Resident Evil 8 Village. I am not good with horror games. I am both looking forward to this because it's going to be an incredible game, but also terrified of it. This is going to be happening on Saturday, so keep your eyes peeled. Subscribe, hit the like button, ring the bell, and you will be notified of this very, very special VR game, because I am going to be absolutely petrified on this live stream, and you'll be speaking to me through the chat in my ear and keeping me company. I'm probably going to play for a couple of hours. I asked a friend who's played the first 6 hours, is it a slow start? Is it going to be interesting to play from the beginning? And I've been told that there's plenty to be scared about in the opening of the game. So, I can wait. I can wait for that. But also, it does mean there are lots of games that either I still need to stream, or I have streamed a little bit, but I want to spend a bit more time in. And so just to give you a flavour of what some of those games are, Just loading it up now because I've just got so many files and folders around me. We've got things like Horizon, Call of the Mountain, with that little AI photo. Me as a little Call of the Mountain character. It's an amazing story. I know a lot of VR gamers don't want to watch it because they don't want to have it spoilt for themselves. Going to be playing a lot more of Kayak VR Mirage. Again, the developers of this game are going to be joining me in just under 20 minutes time to talk about this. I can't wait for that conversation, so stick around. Cities VR, where we get to build a city and watch it grow, set taxes, keep the crime rate down, all the good stuff. We'll be building a city in VR at some point. Jurassic World Aftermath Collection. Some of you would have seen me play this yesterday where I was hiding in lockers as velociraptors were trying to track me down. It wasn't fun. It was really, really scary, but it was a good time. I will be returning to that. Of course, Gran Turismo 7. This is one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever played, period. I'll be showing you some clips about that in a little bit. I've got this racing rig downstairs, as many of you will know, and just absolutely incredible. And then also the world of Star Wars. We're going to go Tales from the Galaxy's Edge Enhanced Edition. So lots and lots and lots and lots and lots. And this is barely scratching the surface because there are dance games like Synth Riders. Do you know what we'll do actually right now? Is we will go to here. This came out today from Jim Ryan, who is the CEO and president of Sony Interactive Entertainment. And he says, PlayStation VR2 launches with dozens of games and 100 more titles in development. He says, today marks another exciting milestone in PlayStation's history as we kick off a new generation of virtual reality gaming. This moment has been several years in the making, and I'm thrilled that gamers can finally get their hands on PlayStation VR2. Starting today, players across the globe will get a chance to experience PSVR 2, escaping into new game worlds with high-fidelity visuals and unique sensations. Our teams across the company have been working closely alongside some of the industry's most talented game developers to take this next step in VR gaming, and the quality of work put into these games has been so amazing to see. And so, I would read the rest, but although there wasn't a lot. He just said at the end, to all our fans, I just want to say thank you for coming on this journey with us. We are truly inspired by your passion and ongoing support, and we can't wait for you to experience this next level of virtual reality gaming. Honestly, what an exciting time for us all. Now, in addition to this, I have been waiting for the delivery of my charging station, and I woke up this morning and I got this card saying, sorry we missed you, scan the code and find out, how to get it. And I scanned it and it says, won't be back about, we'll try and deliver it tomorrow. And I thought, oh, okay. But then I got an email saying that my charging station delivery is delayed. So it's something else. And I've seen on Twitter, what some UK influencers have been receiving for their PlayStation VR2 system. I'm not going to show it. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm saying that might be a possibility. That was actually what was being delivered to me from PlayStation. So we'll have to wait and see. Right. I'm mindful of time, so swiftly moving on. And Mojo says, it just blows my mind how far it's come and how detailed they are. It's incredible. And as Karina rightly says, hit the like button. Please do hit the like button. It helps the channel out. It helps get this out to more people. And as I said, I know that all my brothers from PlayStation VR Without Parole are doing their own live streams at the moment. I think one of them's talking just generally. I think he's still waiting for his headset. AJ. Brian, who we've wanted to get his headset, finally has it. And his reaction when he goes into GT7 was phenomenal. And I thought I would share with you what my reaction was when I got to play Gran Turismo 7. Do you want to just have a look at this? I warn you, though, there's a little bit of swearing. Just a little bit. Because this was my first time experiencing virtual reality driving with my simulator rig. Enjoy. Let's have a look here. Oh, it does when you start racing? Okay. Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. Holy shit. This is... Oh, my... Dudes. Dudes. I can feel the... Oh, my God. This is fucking phenomenal. Oh. Oh, my God, guys. Okay, can I just say that this is virtual reality as fuck? Oh shit! Dude, I feel like, okay, it's so weird not feeling the G-force. I felt myself like, oh my... Dude, your body's just expecting to feel G. Okay, this is absolute. Can I look for him? No. Oh my... When I'm moving the car, I'm expecting my body to move. Oh my God. I don't give a shit if I'm last. I'm enjoying this. I don't care if I'm last, I'm enjoying this. That first turning, and especially with the steering wheel and everything, as I was turning, I was like feeling myself, because your body is programmed that when you turn, you feel the G-force. And I felt like I was bracing myself for the G-force. And what's really interesting about GT7 is you play the rest of the game in cinema mode, where you're basically looking at a big screen in black space, the menus and everything. And the reason I was confused at the beginning was I went into a race and it was like doing the countdown with my car, but it was all on a flat screen. I was like, oh, have I opened up the wrong version? And so then when people said, oh no, go back, it will switch. So like if I go back to that video again and just look at the very beginning bit. Let's have a look here. Oh, it does when you start racing? Okay. Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. Holy shit. It's amazing because... And every time I do a new race on that game now, it starts off in flat screen and I'm like, I know this is going to be amazing. I know what it's like when it goes VR. But as soon as it goes from a screen in front of you to... It's not like a screen here. No, you're in it. You are in it. Like, in that moment, you just feel a whole sense of, like, no, I am present. And that feeling is, I keep saying unbelievable, or it's unreal. You know, these words that we use in our lexicon that actually, in moments like this, mean the opposite of what we actually mean. No, it's totally believable, and it's realistic. So, the thing I'm most excited about with GT7 is it means that I will now be able to race with, I think, up to 15 to 20 other people online from around the world. And that's exactly what I did during the live streams yesterday. Was I set up a lobby and I said, hey, tune in if you want to. And we did some go-karting. So even though these people didn't have PlayStation VR2 yet, it's unreal real, is it? Yeah, it's it's unreally real. It's so unreally real. Yeah. The lack of G-force when braking, turning makes my brain scream. Yeah, it is a bit of a bizarre one, and it can be something that creates sickness. But what I was also surprised about, well, there were moments where I span out, but because of the quality of everything going on, I wasn't feeling motion sick, which I was really glad for. So this was me racing, just some of you out there that were watching the stream yesterday, and we will be doing this soon. And so here's another clip, but in the go-kart. No! On the last lap. Here we go, final corner. Can we do it? I think this is the final corner. no, Kyle. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Yeah, amazing. Now, these 2 videos I showed you were actually really low quality because the way I clip stuff from my YouTube streams for quickness is I will play it on my iPhone and then just screen record. So you're actually screen recording a compressed version on here and then stretching it back to a screen. So although it looked pretty cool there, it's not the same. And so if you haven't already, do look back at my previous... If you look back at my previous live stream, my first... It's 2 live streams ago, though, if you want my first experience with GT7. But my last live stream was at 1080p, so it's much better quality. And I have timestamps so you can see all the different games that I played through. So if you're someone that is thinking about PlayStation VR2, or you're someone that has PlayStation VR2, but you're not sure what games to get, then that could be a good live stream, because some of them I was dipping in for 15 minutes at a time. I think during that 6-hour live stream late last night, I think I went through about 10, 11 different titles. And just to go back to what I said with Rob from PlayStation Access, here was the clip of them talking about me, which was really strange because I'd just done a live stream. I went to reheat my lunch that I had but didn't have time to eat earlier in the day, sat at this desk. I thought, oh, I'll tune in. And Rob didn't even know I was in the chat, and it was just weird that as soon as I sat down, we must be psychically connected, because this is what they said.
It is like driving an actual car. I mean, tomorrow when we're hopefully going to do the stream, as I say, with a steering wheel as well.
Yeah, that'd be
like
cool.
The immersion of that. And my friend has bought himself like a full-on steering wheel with pedals and a seat and everything set up. No, not Dave. It's my friend Myles, who I believe is actually streaming VR as well right now.
Oh, nice. Hi, Myles.
The PSVR without parole. Ooh. Oh, that was good.
Don't bump
like
the
you
supercars.
feel like an...
I love Rob, and it was just really cool because I actually do have a bit of a history with PlayStation Access. I've actually got a funny clip where ages ago. Do you know what? I'll load it on my phone. I'm totally aware that I'm cutting it short for time because we've got Leon joining me probably in about 6 minutes' time. But a very long time ago, they were playing Fortnite when the second map, Chapter 2, had just started. And Rob said, oh, if you want, I can play along with you, because I was working from home as a freelancer, so I was able to manage my own time. And it was when I played as Beef Boss. Is it going to focus? Ta-da! As Beef Boss, because he's really gross and obnoxious, a bit like me, I suppose. And yeah, so Rob actually ran around the map. He couldn't hear me because of their setup, and I was like, "Oh, you mark where you want to land, and I'll follow." And he just went off and did his own thing. So I know. I was just being silly, but I appreciate that. So I chased after him on the map, and he wasn't really paying attention to his map, and then I jumped out of him, and I just found this bit amazing.
I mean, this is the kind of area a boat should be.
Yeah, I mean...
People have been here.
Exactly.
Oh my
god, that was so
Are you serious?
Oh my god.
I thought I was dead.
Oh, that was terrifying.
Thanks
I
for
was
the
just
potion.
like, no. I really thought he was ahead of you. I was so... Oh, no. Honestly.
Okay, let's go fishing.
Let's get something good.
Yeah, good time. So I didn't burn any bridges with them there. I just love the way that Beef Boss is in the foreground, like crouching, and I say that as if it's like not me, but like I didn't expect it to be in shot like that. The cartooniness of Fortnite is just so magical, and I absolutely love it. All right, guys, 4 minutes time, I'll be joined by Leon from Better Than Life devs to speak about Kayak VR. But first, another game that has been announced for PS5 is Swordsman. Swordsman is a game I absolutely love. It is where you get to be a swordsman with all sorts of weapons. in all sorts of arenas. So you can be pirates, you can be sort of in the Colosseum or sort of in a battle arena. You can be samurais. It's got really great physics, and I just love what they do because they keep updating it. And I just hope that they get the rights to Golden Axe from the Mega Drive era and get to make a full-fledged VR Golden Axe game. That's very specific, but I just love what they've done. So, I'm going to play this trailer, and then if any of you would like a copy of this, we're going to be giving away some keys. So, I don't know if Sin Studios are in the chat right now, but this is the trailer for the PS5 launch.
Death is eternal.
And I feel like I should have given a warning. We live in a time now where, there's just going to be some decapitations. Don't worry about it. The Kraken, there's a voice from one of the pirates, which is, release the Kraken. And that is actually AJ from PSVR Without Parole. So it's really, really good. Leon, hope you're doing well, dude. I will bring you on in just a moment. Thank you. I'm really, really excited for this conversation. But for Swordsman VR, Sin Studios wants to give away some keys. And so if you would like the chance to have a free copy of Swordsman on PS5, all you need to do is in the comment section of this video is type #SwordsmanVR and then just give a reason of why you'd like a free copy. And then Sin Studios will be looking through that and getting in touch with some lucky ones of you to send you some keys so you can enjoy that with your PSVR 2. Right, everybody, I'm really excited for this next conversation. I am going to be joined in just a moment by Leon, who is from Better Than Life, the studios behind VR. Hey, dude. Actually, just 1 second. Oh, man, I've messed this up. Guess one. This is the problem with this studio stuff, is every time I think I have it planned, it goes a bit weird. I'm just going to play you this video first before I bring Leon on, which shows you the epicness of this absolutely beautiful game. So check this out. This is Kayak VR Mirage. And Leon joins us now. Leon, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here, man. And firstly, huge congratulations for the launch of this. Just as like transparency for everyone, and we've had a brief exchange, not only because you were kind enough to give a key for the game, but also because we spoke because you loved my reactions to the game, as I'm sure you've been blown away by the reactions of so many people that have played this game. There's so much I want to ask you, but firstly, with it being the launch of PlayStation VR2 today. Tell me just about your thoughts for you and the rest of the team, which I believe is just 3 of you. What does today mean for you guys?
A lot, obviously. I mean, it's the combination of a lot of work, you know, and I think because of the secrecy of the hardware and the fact that we had been working on this without really being able to talk about it, I think it's just really cool to finally see people get their hands on it and hopefully sharing the excitement that we had when we first got our hands on the PSVR, you know, because we were immediately excited about it. So yeah, I mean, it's just incredible, and for such a small studio, for our game, like, it still feels surreal to see it up there with other games being mentioned, you know, like it still needs a while to process, but it's starting to hit us, I think.
Yeah, I mean, even when I think about PlayStation VR 2 as a whole, you know, it was a year and a half ago, we knew that this thing was coming, and it's just been the most agonizing wait of, we just know there's this new horizon. Actually, right now I've got down here on the floor my PlayStation 4 and the PSVR. The amount of cables, I'd love to lift it up now, but with like light tracking, everything. And now this has a single cable that not only connects your headset into the PlayStation 5, but it also powers the headset as well. You don't need any extra breakout box. Is remarkable. But then leading up to the launch of PSVR 2, you know, we're looking at what titles are coming out, and I was someone that thought, you know, Gran Turismo 7, I feel that this is going to be one of those titles. Resident Evil 8, I bought it at launch, but then held off because I just felt that a PSVR 2 version was going to come about. And then as we got nearer, and I see this Kayak VR game. Now, if you ask me what are the sort of games that I go for, I always say VR is a bit different because you tend to enjoy game experiences that you wouldn't normally play on a flat screen, like a kayaking flat screen game. I'd probably never play. Right. But when you're in VR, you want to give things a try. And so when I first saw how beautiful the game looked in the trailers, I was like, I have to experience this. And so my question really is, what do you think captured the imaginations of people? I mean, you might not even know what the answer is, but like, it's not just that the game has come out and now people are talking about it. Like, there has been this excitement leading up to it. What have you found was the reasons for that?
Honestly, I think it's just a little bit of luck because I think the timing for us was really great. You know, like we had been trying to create like a really high-end, super high fidelity game when the market was really not going that way, you know? And then suddenly like PlayStation VR 2 is announced and people are looking for like titles that'll blow them away, you know? And I think that was like perfect timing for us because, yeah, when we first saw the headset, we were like, oh, people are going to love this, you know, just because it's so immersive. And I think once people get their hands on it, you know, like they're gonna be convinced immediately. So I mean, I'm not gonna all attribute it to luck, but I think our timing was amazing. And I think just like seeing the footage and wanting to see what it looks like in the headset, you know, I think that's the thing. Is like, does it look as good in the headset as it does on the trailer? You know, we spent a lot of time on that trailer to make sure that it reflected the actual gameplay, but also that it would impress people, you know, that it would like get people excited. So yeah, I think timing was definitely a factor, but also just hopefully the work we put in and the fact that people could immediately imagine what it would be like playing the game, you know, and also to show it to other people and things like that. So yeah, it feels very intuitive.
Right. Well, the thing I found remarkable, well, many things I found remarkable about it was I got from Sony PlayStation, hugely grateful for them sending me hardware a week ago. And I was setting it up, and my intention was always Call of the Mountain Horizon is the first game I'm going to play, and I didn't have it installed. And so while I was installing, I was like, what could I do in the meantime? And Kayak was always in the back of my mind of another one I wanted to jump into. And what surprised me first about it was you click fire up the game, games load very, very quickly. And I think you might just have the splash screen, the load screen briefly, but then it just throws you into the swimming pool. You literally load up, you're in the swimming pool, which is actually the loading, sort of the menu, because it says press X to start, and then you can choose where you want to go. And I can't begin to explain how I use the word giddy, which sometimes is a bad thing of like feeling a bit sick. Giddy can also mean like really intensely excited internally, that it makes you feel a bit strange. And I was like, I cannot. Straight away, it was the sunlight hitting the wall in the swimming pool room, the sort of the textures around the flamingo inflatable. Obviously, the water and looked incredible. And then it was doing things like I stuck my head in the water, and you can see under the water, and also the music is distorted. I also tested that if you put half your head under the water, you can see with one eye above the water in one way and underneath the water in another way. And for a game that just says, you know what, we're not going to have some big, introduction, the first thing that's going to load is you're in it, was just so impactful for me. And as my first experience, that was like my first experience with PSVR 2. Well, actually, I got to play Cities VR a month ago at their studios, and as much as I like Cities VR, it's not a game that pushes, fidelity. Like, it's a city simulator, and Fast Travel Games would admit that as well. Like, it's a great game, but like something that's about realism, Kayak VR was just absolutely mind-blowing. So what was the story behind... Sorry, yeah.
I'm happy you appreciated that part of it, because that was definitely an intentional decision to like immediately throw you into the pool, like we considered menus and more like hand-holding aspects, but I think that was really intentional choice to just put you right in there and hopefully get you used to it. We did end up implementing just like the option to do the tutorial if you wanted to, because I do think the game is more fun if you know how to kayak. But apart from that, like you can just get going right away without like any interruption or any UI really blocking you.
That's awesome. And actually, I've just been reminded by the chat that, and it's just been one of those crazy months, that the last Wednesday of every month is normally a Q&A session that I do. And I haven't even thought about that. So I am actually going to bring up some questions from the chat, if that's all right for you,
of course,
in just a moment. And Karina, much love to you for asking people. If you do have a question for Leon or for me, just put a Q at the beginning of your question in the chat, and then I can favourite it and keep it saved on the side so I don't lose it. So thank you for that. What I was going to ask you then was, why Kayak VR? How did you come about to developing this game? What inspired that idea? And I've got some questions about other early choices about like the locations and that you went with. But like to begin with, why a kayak game?
Right, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think we originally started off making actually a meditative experience. That was like our way of getting used to the process of actually like shipping a product, like seeing something through from the beginning to the end, because it's quite easy to underestimate that, especially early on. So we made that, but we felt like we wanted to do more, but maintain some kind of feeling of that, like intuitiveness and something that felt natural, that didn't need as many controls, and that you could just like basically a natural form of locomotion, and I think we obviously considered cars and cockpits and things like that, but then like actually Arend, one of my colleagues, he looked at a YouTube video of somebody kayaking in Norway, I believe it was, and it just looked so serene and peaceful. And we just decided to prototype it really quickly, and then it just immediately clicked for us. We were like, oh, we really have something here. And then, I mean, we thought we were going to be done with it quickly, or that it was going to be small, and then it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and suddenly, before you know it, you're making like a really proper kayaking game, So yeah, that was basically the innocent start to really shipping this title.
I love that. And I always so find that when it comes to VR games, the ones I tend to rate highly, and this isn't always the case, for me, there are two types of VR games that I regard as excellent. There are those that are excellent because they're deep. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of levels to understanding the mechanics of the game, and so it's a very long-term game that you play. I think of The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners. It's a game that you learn the mechanics, and it's a game I've actually never finished because I always get hours into the game and then I'm like, I understand this. I'm going to start again with what I now know. And so I never actually I've played the first half of the game like 10, 15 times. I need to actually now try and complete the game. But, it's an excellent game for that reason. But the other type of VR game that I love are those that are very intuitive and are great introductions that you could put anyone in. Beat Saber's a great example. Beat Saber, I could get someone who's never played VR before, and you want to explain a game to them. 2 hands, you got 2 sabers, you got music. We're going to put you in a level. You love music. Everyone knows Guitar Hero. You can kind of communicate it, and people love that game. What the Bat that has just come out for PSVR 2. That is a game I've had a lot of fun with. That is definitely a game I would put people in straight away. Gran Turismo, people know to drive. Although there's a deepness to that game as well. You could just put someone in an arcade mode. But for me, kayaks, VR, people know, okay, this paddle, it's just, all right, you got 2 hands, 2 sides, and you're interacting with the water, and it's very simple and easy to pick up. And actually, because of the fidelity aspect, I think Kayak VR, and I mentioned this on the clip that you shared from PSVR Without Parole last Friday, it is the game that I would definitely put people into first, because it instantly puts you in there. It wows you with, it's possible to feel present in somewhere that you're not. And so, yeah, I was just wondering if that was also a part of the thinking. A kayak is something that is, I don't say basic in a pejorative way, I don't mean it in a negative way, but it's something that, it's very easy to get to understand. There's no barrier to entry, and it could be said that it's actually, I would agree with this. It's easy to play, difficult to master. We've spoken on email the fact that I still, and everyone was laughing at me on the live stream yesterday of just how quickly I was doing my arms and doing all this sort of stuff, and I still haven't been able to master the speed yet. I'm getting better, but I still can't even get a silver ranking. So if you could speak more to that.
I think you definitely hit the nail on the head there. I think kayaking is something, at least in Holland where we're based, it's something that you tend to have done at least once, and once you get the basic mechanics of it, it should be a lot more intuitive to people. So exactly, that type of natural locomotion is actually quite unique, kayaking in that sense. It's hard to compare to anything else, because you do actually propel yourself forward. That's also the nice part about it. It's not just you're on skis or a snowboard or something, you're creating the motion that also propels you forward. I don't know, I think it just made a lot of sense to us. And I think, that factor of it, because I also like complex games. I've been playing Elden Ring, I'm playing games that need guides. I'm playing League of Legends, things like that, classical games, but those all need a big fat manual to play. And I think it's just really cool that I was able to show my parents or able to show other people a game that feels immediately intuitive, but is still really an experience. It's not just a joke or something. It's not just the shortest experience. So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so, there was a lot of questions around the lead up to PSVR 2. Is there going to be a new Astrobot game? Because Astrobot is the spearhead of showing what the tech is capable of. And obviously Horizon Call of the Mountain has definitely taken that place in what Sony is pushing forward as a first-party title, AAA developers, and it's done it. But I would say that Kayak, for me, is on par with Call of the Mountain in terms of the importance of it as a game that people must experience. And so I can only imagine, being... And it is just 3 of you. Is it just 3 of you that made it? Or
it is really just the 3 of us. We had no.
How? I don't understand.
No, but...
So what are your backgrounds like? What is your backgrounds in being able to create such realistic world? I just don't. You're magicians. You can just say it was magic, and I'll believe you. But what are your backgrounds like? How did you come to this with that?
It's actually funny because one of my colleagues, Arend, he's a high school friend of mine, and we went totally different ways in terms of career and stuff. So I came from a much more academical media background, and then I ended up getting into VR years ago doing film stuff, actually. So I was a director of VR film for a while, which was really fun. and challenging, and we even did some interactivity, but I was lacking like that feeling of doing something fully interactive. And then I just started talking to Alan, who's now, you know, one of the founders of the company, and we just like somehow found this connection. And then he and his brother, they actually already had a company together, and they came from a more like programming, like they were insanely good programmers, you know. So I felt really lucky because it was like I'm more of the artist in that sense, and they're like really good programmers. So we came together and we just naturally found our flow in what to do and what to make. And yeah, it still feels really crazy that we were able to pull it off, honestly. But I do think, yeah, I got really lucky, and hopefully they got a little lucky too with me.
Well, I always think, you know, the truth is, and it's not to take anything away, anything that we do that becomes successful, there is some element of luck to it. But what it comes down to also is when the luck comes along and you have those opportunities, it's are you willing to seize those opportunities? And so the fact that you have, you know, is goes huge credit to you. Well, funny enough, because I played Kayak VR, and I'm going to go to chat questions just after this one or this point. Was, you know, after playing Kayak VR, I then played, I think, a bit of Tetris Effect, which was a game that I'd loved from PSVR and loved
Me too.
experiencing it in PSVR too. Then when I went to Call of the Mountain, and you start off on the boat ride, one of the first things I did was I stuck my head in the water like I did in Kayak VR. Have you done that?
No, the thing is,
Okay.
I'm still waiting for my PlayStation VR.
Are you
It's
still
a tragedy.
waiting? Oh man.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I feel for you, dude.
But spoil it for me. Spoil it for me. What happens?
Well, I think it just goes black. Or basically there's nothing. It like clips. There's nothing under there. Now I understand that, like, the way it's built is you're not that close to the water. What percentage of people are actually going to do it? I'm not taking anything away, but it's interesting how when you create a VR game, you kind of, in some ways, have to be prepared that what are people going to be doing to sort of experience that world. And I was like, look, Call of the Mountain, Horizon games have always been excellent with their foliage, machine design. Like they nail everything, like in that. But I was quite surprised with the water when I stuck my head in there, and it kind of clipped. And it might have been just a glitch in that moment. I'd have to test it again. But it was funny that my experience of Kayak VR led to me to doing that with that game. So my question was going to be basically that when you were creating these levels or creating the game as a whole, was the first thing on the agenda, let's get the water right? Was that like the first thing, like how good can we make this water look? Or was it something you actually did later down the line?
I mean, we tweaked the water like for every level so many times, you know, because they're actually quite different between every environment, you know, like the tropical water is obviously like the Costa Rica environment. It's a lot more what you would expect from a tropical environment, and then the Arctic one feels a little bit, you know, they all have their own identity, and it was obviously a lot of work to get those right. But I do think that if it clicked, if somehow the water is such a big aspect of it, you know, that once you tweak that to look right, like it just made the whole level feel and look so much better. So yeah, we spent a ton of time on that, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Like it was so, like, especially the reflections and all these things, you know, like
Yeah.
there are some techniques that other like flat screen games can use that just don't work as well in VR, and working around those was a major hassle. Like that's all I'll say. But yeah, I think it's really rewarding to see people appreciate it so much. And like you said about like all the little things that you need to get right with a VR game, you know, like there's so many micro decisions you're making all the time about interactivity and what should work and what shouldn't work, you know. Like one of the things was that we put fish into the game, you know, and then, well, what happens if you stick your paddle close to them? Like one person is going to do that one time, you know, but still it's like a little test of like, is that going to happen, or like, is something going to happen? And then of course, like at first something did not happen, and then somebody mentions it and we're like, shit, well now we're going to have to figure it out. And then you have to figure out, okay, well, the fish has to move away from the paddle. It can't clip into like the rocks and stuff like that, you know, and it turns into this whole thing. Like people drastically underestimate how much of a hassle it can be sometimes, but it's also really rewarding like you said, when you do stick your head underwater and it all makes sense, that's what you do it for, for people to do those little tests, basically.
Or if you accidentally prod a penguin, what happens when that happens? And I have got a bad reputation now. And actually, Ian Higton from Eurogamer did saying someone clipped him doing it. For me, I did it not on a live stream. I was doing it when testing a live stream. So only one person saw me do it at the time. But that will be that is a clip that will be on Friday's show. It'll be my new clip of the week of me prodding a penguin and then me trying to resuscitate it with the paddle, and I failed.
Come back.
Yeah. It was sad times, and people aren't forgiving me for it. So I don't know what showing the clip's going to do for me on Friday, but we'll have to wait and see. Right. Some of the questions that have come in. Well, actually, Yoshi, first of all, said, just wants to let you know that I love your game and I'm going to jump back in and conquer the VR sickness. Motion sickness is quite a big thing. I showed it to my dad and he loved it. And then I got him to play the what's the storm level with the lighthouse? The
Norway Bjorn.
Yeah, and he was like, whoa, I'm feeling it. But he was stood up when doing it. And for me, when it comes to motion sickness in VR, different people have different experiences. For me, it's about like sort of adding the realism of how you're positioned. So like the first time I ever experienced domestic VR was Skyrim on PlayStation VR at a game bar. And I was sat down playing it and I felt really sick. And so if I'm playing a game where your character's walking around, I have to be stood up or else it just makes me feel weird. Although if I'm in a spaceship or a driving game, then I can be sat down and moving. I think for kayak VR to be stood up and then like bobbing in the water, that would probably throw me off as well. But what sort of considerations do you have to make when it comes to like the choppy, stormy waters? Is that just a matter of making it and then testing it a lot and just getting a sense of how many people are going to be throwing up when this happens? Like,
yeah, we put our friends in a bunch, because at some point we became fully immune to it. You can do anything at this point to me, and I'm not going to get motion sick. Even though at the beginning, we spent a lot of time tweaking, for example, how much the camera is smooth compared to the kayak, because in real life, your head does stabilize itself a little bit. You might not think about it like that, but the camera is way more smooth. So if you're in the Nordic environment in Norway, you're not going to feel every bump, but you do feel enough of it and you see enough of it that it is going to be challenging. So I think that Norway one was just too good. I think we were just too excited about the stormy one and we wanted to give people a challenge besides just flat water. So the tropical environment is also a little bit wavy. The Norway one, in the end, we all tweaked them to be a little bit more wavy because it just also made the level come alive so much more, and it made the kayak feel more dynamic. But yeah, we play tested a lot, and we also put in a bunch of accessibility settings, the usual suspects like vignetting, but also additional camera smoothing so that you could also decouple your head from the kayak itself, which for some people they find helpful. And what's the last one? Oh yeah, you can stabilize the kayak itself, so if you we basically reduce the amount of impact that the waves will have on your kayak. And then very last minute we also ended up shipping that that tour mode, which should hopefully be the most accessible way for anybody to play it, because you can do it at such a calm pace that I feel like I haven't heard any people getting motion sick in those ones, but yeah, obviously you want it to be perfect, and actually I'm hopeful that PlayStation users will also appreciate the headset haptics and things like that, because we did put those in on collisions, and PlayStation themselves speculated a little bit that it would help with motion sickness, and I actually do feel like feeling some kind of response when you hit a rock is actually helpful, so I think we put a little feedback in there just to give you that feeling of oh, you hit something. So I'm interested in hearing.
There's one comment here which I think is one of the biggest compliments you could ever get. This comes from Twitch, the single player game cat. He says, just kayak down Kings Canyon. I have kayaked there in real life and this totally, utterly transported me back there. Thank you. I mean, that's going to be always the biggest comparison of people that have actually done it. So on that, how did you research the places? Like this, I feel like the answer's no, but it wouldn't surprise me if you said yes. Like, did you visit these places, or did you just do a lot of researching on like documentaries and photos?
We joked a lot about how the next time we're gonna do a 3-month visit to like scan every environment and all these things, just as a good excuse to go on vacation in an amazing place. But no, honestly, it's a bit of a combination of like dream locations for us. You know, like think about where would you want to kayak? Well, I mean, I think for me, the Antarctic is like a really interesting place, like the ice and all these things, and the Northern Lights and all these things. Like it's just like we just started off thinking from a wish fulfillment perspective, and then also a bit of our limitations because we did not hand model every asset ourselves. You know, like we were relying on assets that other people made and then transforming those to make them more than hopefully what they are, or like make them VR compatible and things like that. So I think we found a nice blend of dream locations, and yeah. So the tropical one was my personal dream. You know, it's just like I want to have a big island that just feels like that it just stretches out for a longer time and it has a bigger scope. But then we totally cheated. Or I mean, I don't know if I should say this, but I feel like we cheated logic sometimes, you know, like we wanted it to be as realistic as possible, but putting a little jungle in the middle of our tropical island it doesn't 100% make sense, but it's like exactly what you would want, you know? So
Right.
I think we used references. We found like places that I think if you Google any of the places that are environments are titled after, you're going to find places that look really close to that. So I do think we wanted to be faithful to the original locations and recreate them, but give them a little extra something if we felt like they needed it, you know? So yeah, that was a balance for us.
That's awesome. Just having a look here at questions. Game Catfight Nutter says, are there any, and if so, how many Easter eggs in the games? Now, I know that there are things you got to find. I've seen the trophy list, and some of them popped when seeing a killer whale and things like that. Are there a lot of Easter eggs in it? Are there things that you have to go out your way to find? Or, I mean, I don't want too much spoil, but like, for example, there's a trophy in there called Thalassophobia. It's about like facing thalassophobia, which I did mention. I kind of got it when I went out in the deep water and stuck my head under the water. I'm really curious to know how you achieve that trophy. So my question for you would be in two parts. Firstly, you can talk about how many Easter eggs there are. You might want to just give a ballpark figure. But secondly, are there any horror elements to this? Are there any things that are actually scary?
No, I would say no. Like we don't intend to scare people, but for example, like thalassophobia is actually something that I was not that aware of. And one of our trailers, when we were still in development, got posted on Reddit to the thalassophobia subreddit, and it blew up there, which is really like that's such a cool interaction that Reddit can provide. So then we were kind of inspired, you know, by that idea of people actually struggling with that and overcoming it in VR. So we dedicated that trophy to it. So that was one of them. And then in terms of ballpark Easter egg, it depends on what you would consider an Easter egg. But there's stuff in there, you know, like I think stuff that we intentionally put in there, and maybe things you'll find that are left over from a different time. Who knows? But we played a lot with ideas of like 3D scanning ourselves and putting ourselves in the bathrooms and in the pool environment, you know, to like be a joke, as if somebody would somehow clip their way in there, that we would be standing there smiling. But you're gonna have to find those for yourself, and that one I can tell you did not make it into the game. So
okay.
Good luck hunting. But the inflatables, I don't know if you found those. I wouldn't really consider them Easter eggs, but I do think they're really like funny things you can find in the environment. So there's a few inflatables, like inflatable blow up things similar to the flamingo, that we put into every environment, and then they'll have like a little quest assigned to them that you have to get them to another place. And that'll get you some of the currency.
I did see one of them. I can't remember which place it was. I actually tried to put it over me, but then I realised my character is just a hat. So I was like, obviously I was going to try and take it round with me, but I was like, oh yeah, I don't actually exist. I'm just a hat. But I should have looked at the quest.
It's a bit of work, but just like whacking them, is the best way to get them there. And then you get a little reward for doing that, and you make a little inflatable happy. So I would consider, and those are not easy, or I mean, they're not incredibly hard to find, but they're not immediately on your way, so you have to look for those.
That's really cool. I mean, the feature I'm most looking forward to is multiplayer that I know that you guys are working on. Because currently you can race against your friends their times. Is that is that just where an AI is created that just does it in the time that your friend has set, or is it actually recording a ghost? I assume it's just simulating their time that they've set, or.
No, it's actually recording them. So if they look around, they're actually looking around in the game, which adds a lot of like human elements to the players. Like you really feel them playing, which is cool. You even see their styles, and when they duck, it looks really funny. So we're also considering adding like bodies and hands to the game, which could further enhance that aspect to it. But yeah, those are actually recorded. And in fact, we even manually recorded all of our bronze, silver, and gold times for them because we wanted them to feel natural, which was a huge hassle. But hopefully somebody appreciates that because it doesn't just feel like a ghost. It doesn't feel very. It feels human. Like somebody recorded that. One of our
I definitely
team.
felt it. Well, I've done it once where I actually I just found out I can race against a silver, and what I liked about it was it's not just like. Let's say it's 2 minutes, that it just does everything on the course in a steady time. There are bits where it slows down, and there are bits there it speeds up.
Exactly.
And so it still feels like a race. So even though I didn't know that was the case, having said that, it totally makes sense. You might not be able to answer this question, but maybe just like on a more general sense of like the limitations of PSVR2. I know that's quite a broad question anyway, but when it comes to having multiplayer, like I assume there might be a multiplayer like free mode, so you can just paddle around with your friends. Like, how many people could we get on the map at once? Like, and even if you can't give an answer specifically, what are the limitations that come into play when designing that? Because for me, it's like I'd love it if you just had like 30 people just bobbing around in this area, but I know that. As someone who doesn't understand development that deeply, like that might not actually be possible. Could you speak to that?
So we've done little tests. I'm not going to pretend that we haven't looked at it at all, but we haven't fully hit those limitations yet. What I can tell you based off of experience is that like all these players also need to send their information to each other about where they are. So like the more players there are sending information to each other, the more smart things you have to do to prevent them from lagging and like hitting each other and things like that. So one of them is like a network bandwidth constraint, and then the other one, for example, is not every environment is suited to it. If we put 30 people into the canyon environment, it's going to get really crowded.
Right.
And then the other thing is, do you want, for example, paddles to be able to hit each other? Do you want kayaks to be able to hit each other? Like there's definitely like a physical element to kayaking that would be fun. Like it's fun to be able to hit your buddy. But at the same time, if you're like trying to paddle and somebody's paddle is getting stuck in your paddle, like I think there are a few challenges there that we would have to that we're hopefully going to try and solve if we do tackle this. And it is high on our list, but yeah, we had some questions regarding that. So those would be the main limitations you can see immediately, and just like physics interactions in general, like you don't want somebody's kayak to suddenly shoot up because one packet they're here and the other packet they're there. Okay, I'm making it too technical, but I hope it slightly makes sense, like lag and things like that, and physics always tend to be a bit of a shit show. So
no, that makes sense. And I have to say that initially when seeing the trailer and getting quite excited about it, and I was told, oh, it doesn't have multiplayer, my first reaction was like, I'll just wait for it to have multiplayer. But it is so much fun even without that component. However, I think once that mode does come out, it's going to create I think you're just going to have more activity on the game, because that's obviously what multiplayer is great for, which is oh, what are you playing right now? Hey, let's jump into this. And then, and if it's actually a mode where you're able to go into sort of a free mode where you see other players. You've played the game Journey, haven't you?
Yeah.
So what?
Where you sort of like fade in and out of people's games, or?
Which I do kind of see that in the game where when you're racing others, you see ghosts fade in and out. But without going too specific, I mean, if you haven't played Journey by now, please play it. It is such an amazing game. But what's so beautiful about it is, there are other players that fade in and out along the journey, and they don't have name tags. There's no way of communicating with them other than how you move. And so it's this really beautiful sense of like, there are other people here. I don't know who they could be, but like the brief ways you can sort of communicate with them is good. And so, although I'm not suggesting that's necessarily the free mode, I feel like that's kind of a nice thing about like going into one of those maps and there's just other players there that, because in a way, you don't want voice chat. You don't want to be in these like serene environments while there are people just screaming or just, but then that could be maybe an option for multiplayer, that you have like a mode of like, voices disabled and one. So do people want a social experience or do they want a more mindful experience? And I don't know. I know that offering those different options are additional complexities and you might decide that like, no, this is what we want the social experience to be. But the fact that there's all this potential for that game in itself makes it really, really exciting.
Yeah, no, I think we really see that potential too. There's a bunch of ways we could take it, but yeah, there's definitely some considerations there, and we did not initially design it with multiplayer in mind, which is like the first rule of game development, is that you should design it with that in mind. But we have had like versions of it working, or like we've seen the magic of being able to kayak together, and that is just like a small piece of the puzzle that sounds like, oh, you got multiplayer, but that's like one little part of it. But it was really dope, and I think like even small stuff like you can purchase an inflatable goal in the pool if you build up enough currency.
Yeah,
and like being able to just play water polo with your buddy, like that could just work. Like if you do that, like there's a lot of like fun little. Okay, yeah. I mean, there's stuff like that you could see how that could expand in a fun way. So
well, I think about some of the biggest games that blew up, like whether it's Fall Guys or Rocket League, that had very simple mechanics, and they just like they captured, it kind of like they just captured the imaginations of people more than they probably first intended. And obviously, Kayak VR Mirage has done that already. But I actually think it's going to work to your advantage that it doesn't have multiplayer next, because at PSVR2 launch, it's a very crowded field. There's a lot of games. Like as someone that's had over 20 keys given to me, I've been very, very lucky. There's so many games that I've just not had a chance to either play or given them the time that they deserve, and I will get to it. But I think for people that are actually, having to pay with their wallets after paying for a headset, all of that is stuff that they have to factor in. And so the fact that you guys have hit it so out the park at this launch is amazing anyway. So you've kind of done the hard bit. But what it means is when you finally do release multiplayer, that is a feature that alongside, and this is sort of my marketing background probably starting kicking in now, but like when you release multiplayer, anything else that you release alongside it, like multiplayer is going to be the pull, because people are like, well, I'll give you an example. Synth Riders. I love Synth Riders, and the PC VR version always had multiplayer, and I've wanted it, and it never came out for PlayStation VR. It's now come out with multiplayer for PSVR 2. So I'm jumping back in. It's like, it's finally here. I am now coming back to the game. And I feel that is what's going to happen with Kayak VR. It will bring people back to see what it's like together. And then if there are other game modes as well, that could be amazing as well.
Exactly.
I'm very mindful of time, so I'm just going to quick fire these last few questions. If you have any questions in the chat, put a Q before your question. Last chance. Right. What have we got here? Someone was just saying multiple PC VR people told me that they would happily rebuy Kayak on PSVR 2. The other title they would mention in the same breath is Half-Life Alyx. So again, it's amazing that you guys are sort of benchmarks against, where it's Call of the Mountain, Horizon, or like Half-Life Alyx. It's amazing to see.
It is crazy.
Yeah,
but I'm also happy that people are excited enough to want to double dip. Like I didn't want to I would never encourage people to do that because I feel like that's a little bit predatory. But I personally do think it is a really smooth and nice experience on PlayStation. You know, like we did spend time on it, and I don't know if you've really like messed with the haptics specifically, but for me as somebody who worked on it, you know, like I really appreciate all the small stuff we put in there. So.
That's awesome. Ian Stanbridge says, "Is the Loch Ness monster hiding under there somewhere, or only whales? What is the biggest thing in kayak VR? The killer whale's pretty massive."
Yeah, I would say the whale, or like the massive whale in
I
Norway
haven't met
is the biggest right now.
Actually, have I? I think I might have seen it in the distance. Yeah. In the snowy biome, you can see like there's a boat right out in the distance. I've actually not attempted it yet. I mean, the answer might be I should find out. But what happens if you keep going out there? Is there an invisible wall, or?
At some point, we'll tell you to turn back
Okay.
because you're reaching like areas that, you know, like we didn't really work on. But I have to admit that that boat has become like a beacon for people to go
Right.
to, and it's like what happens. And I do want to, you know, that would be one of those small things that we would like to change at some point, that you can actually go there and that it all works out and there's some kind of fun reward to it or something, because it is a far way out, you know, like you do have to really paddle for it. But who knows in the future. But for now, we're telling you to turn back.
That's awesome. And then Captain Jack Sparrow says, would it be possible to have another game mode where there is waves you could possibly ride in the kayak, like a skill-based game mode? That was one of my first questions when I saw the trailer, is there any water, like white water rafting, like, you know, the sort of really intense, and, you know, I say that, and then I find out it's like a 3-person dev team. I'm like, well, I don't know. My assumption is to make something that's fast-paced, like proper, like Olympics, you know, choppy waters with really fast streams. That feels like it would just be a whole other monster to deal with. But I cautiously say that because you've already proven you guys can create absolutely amazing experiences. Is that something that, and I'm not here to say today, you know, confirm that it's something you would work on, but like, is that something that would feel like a completely different game to make because it would be a much more aggressive style of kayaking?
I think it's mostly just that, like our water right now, you know, like if you think about white water, it's not just the fact that it flows fast, because we can make it flow fast. It's the fact that it also impacts, like water gets sucked between two rocks, you know, and it speeds up in certain spots and it like twists around in certain spots. It does a bunch of like water dynamics that you would also have to simulate. And then my second question is also like, would people actually be able to tolerate that? Because
Right.
how far into realism do you go with that? Like we messed with it a little bit early on. Like we started off doing like a little dip so that you would like sort of go off a waterfall. We even did like a thing where you would totally go off a waterfall. And that was actually somehow better. But like when you would just make a tiny little dip, like you feel it in your stomach, you know, like that was one of those things that was not immediately pleasant to me. But I do think people have asked for it so much, and I do think it's a real dream to make it happen. It's just something that requires like totally different water tech, basically. So it is definitely a different challenge. It's not something that we could just tack on for the reasons I mentioned before. You know, like you really need to find a nice balance between it being authentic, but also like survivable
Yes.
and fun. So yeah, like that's not a solved problem, but I've been surprised and also impressed by how many people want to see this, and I hope that as many people will actually want to play it if we do end up making it, you know, because we've heard so much about it that
it's such a good point, Leon, though, because quite often the time what people think they want and what they actually want are two different things, especially when they have an idea of something and then they try and go, not so sure, because that's the challenge when it comes to making VR games. And I'm sort of speaking to the audience, not to you. You clearly know this, which is when you make a flat screen game, yeah, you've got to make it a believable world aesthetically. It's got to feel right. But when you're making a VR game, you've literally got to convince people that they're there. Like, you have to create the world around them and the senses and the physics systems and everything. And so when people see a game being played or play something, they go, oh, I'd like to experience that now. You explaining all the challenges with like white water rafting, I'm like, yeah, actually, I'm not sure I would enjoy that. Like,
I mean, obviously, our challenge then is to try and put it into something that people would enjoy, you know?
right?
So that's
Yeah,
like the next
that's a great
level.
point. Yeah, you're
It's
right.
sort of
You're
a
right,
double
Leon. Make
thing.
it.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing on it? Go make it now.
My bad, my bad. Yeah.
One of a few comments we got, and then I will have to wrap this up because I've actually got to present PSVR without Pro in 40 minutes. It's just a non-stop Wednesday today because it's obviously launch day. But Callie Timecat says, a couple of kayaks tied together could make a catamaran, or would it be a kayatamaran? So that would be, I like that.
Bonus points for the pun.
Yeah, I love it. Pun. Always one for.
No, I think one of the things in multiplayer would be amazing would be to be able to tandem kayak. You know, like to be in the same kayak and play together and have this like thing where you have to synchronize it up. It could become like a whole team building thing. I don't know.
Wow.
I just imagine that type of stuff. So yeah, I don't want to make you guys too excited for multiplayer because it's still not confirmed and we don't know if we're gonna be able to pull it off. But there's potential there.
But the point is that the possibilities are endless, and if the community gets behind it and engages with you guys, you know, I'm always someone who believes no one has a monopoly on good ideas. Like, that's the great thing. We live in a world today where you can speak with the community. You get their feedback not just by what they say, by watching live streams, seeing what they show you, and going, actually, that could make a cool feature. And I think having all the cosmetics, things that you can grind for, is a whole other thing that I think makes for replayability. So I think that's really, really exciting. A lot of thanks here for answering their questions. Someone was saying, could you do fishing? Make it a fishing game as well. I mean, there's all sorts of...
That's one of our most requested features is to add fishing to the game, which was, like, again, one of those things that I never thought about, but it seems like people would be really into it. And there are dedicated fishing games, so I see the potential there. Yeah, it's one of those things where you could, like, add on forever to the game, but at the same time, it was also made for certain things. So yeah, like... It's really funny. But,
well, I will end it with this comment from Atom VR. I always like dark humor. He says, I want to experience falling to my death kayaking off Niagara Falls.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. We'll keep that in mind. That's good feedback, you know, because... All right.
There'll just have to be 2 poles at the bottom that you have to fall through before the rocks, or else you get like a pole penalty for 2 seconds for hitting it. Trying to avoid the poles to avoid those penalties is a really cool thing, because you see it again in the Olympics of how they swivel, and I feel myself doing it. Like, it is amazing. Just, oh man, I could talk to you forever about it. But listen, Leon, huge love to you, dude, and I say the rest of the team, the other 2 of you. And thanks, Dutch DJ, for the super chat. €2 super chat. He just says, thank you, Leon, with the message. What would your message be, I guess, just to finalise this chat? Like, what would you like to say to the audience? I know that when I played the trailer initially, it was a bit choppy because I was a bit ambitious with the high-quality version. But I will definitely trim this interview out. Might put it on PSVR without Pro. I'll speak to Brian about that. But also I'll give it to you, Leon, if you want to cut it up and use it for promo and stuff like that, because this has been a really cool conversation. But yeah, any final words that you have maybe about what you guys are up to, or the fact it's PSVR2 launch day, or I don't know, anything?
Yeah, I think I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for like the incredible support we've received from the PlayStation community and the larger VR community. You know, I think it's just like, it's finally starting to poke through our little bubble that we've created for ourselves, where we're just like in a basement, not a literal basement, but more like a garage, making a game that we don't know how it's impacting people, and then to see so many people get excited for it, like pre-order it, engage with it, like share their thoughts on Twitter and stuff. It's just been incredible, and it gives me shivers, and it's everything that I wanted to achieve, you know, for people to want to show your game to somebody else. So thank you for that, and stay tuned for what's to come. You know, like as a studio, we're not done with Kayak VR. Like, we see that you gave us this support and this trust, and we do want to repay that by continuing to develop on it, and we have been working on it, you know, like since the Steam launch. Originally we've only worked on improving the game, but there's still stuff that's on our list that we want to do. So we have a public roadmap available. we're not going to be able to get to every point, but we are like taking feedback there. So if you want to thumbs up something that you really like, fishing, multiplayer, a new environment, just let us know and we'll all take it into consideration. So thank you and enjoy the PlayStation launch. It's finally here. VR2 launched.
And I do hope you get yours soon, dude. And honestly, man, huge congrats. And just the last few comments of love from here. Tim Cooper says, Kayak VR was the first game I played on PSVR2 this morning. Truly awesome experience. Ciago Guitarist says, I feel like a lot of the best games were made by a couple of friends in a garage somewhere. Those are solid foundations. You often hear that in I remember the early days of like Doom and that. It was just like, actually, No Man's Sky, I'm pretty sure was made by, which I can't wait to get onto that, the PSVR2 version that launched today. But that was something they made on a lunch break while working on other games. Like, it was a couple of them. Obviously, it's a bigger team now, but like, you just never know the sort of the journey that these go on. Stefan says, please, multiplayer for exploration, not only racing. Thanks for the amazing showcase and game. So lots of thank yous here, lots of great messages. Leon, I just want to thank you for your time. And I look forward to one day being able to race you and trail from a long distance behind you, but in real time in the game. So... you're able to just disconnect now, but thank you so much for your time, dude, and we'll speak again soon.
For sure. Thank you.
Have a good one, dude. Bye-bye.
You too.
And that was Leon from Better Than Life, the studios behind Kayak VR. Honestly, huge love to him and the team. Really enjoyed that conversation. And having conversations like this is what I want to do more about on the channel. Because I just enjoy having them, and it's really great having your questions. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I actually need to get off now and like rest my voice for a bit and get ready for Gamescast Live. I actually don't know if Gamescast Live is happening tonight, just because I know that all the others have been doing their live streams and things like that. So I should probably find out. But yeah, I mean, is Brian still live streaming? Because if so, then maybe it's not happening tonight. But oh no, he's off. All right, I need to find out. But I'm so glad to hear AJ has finally got his. Really, really cool. So yeah, listen, everyone. Any of you that have pre-ordered PSVR 2, and look, there are some of you out there that have not been able to afford it because it's an expensive piece of gear, but are maybe saving up for it later down the line. Do that. Do that. Last thing I want to say before I sign off, please do subscribe if you haven't already and ring the bell. I'm going to be playing Resident Evil Village in VR on Saturday. I'm going to be terrified, and I need you with me holding my hand through my ears because I'll be listening to the chat there. So metaphorically holding my hands in my ears. And on Friday, I'll be hosting PSVR Without Parole with Brian, but I'll also be doing it, hopefully, in 30 minutes' time. So head on over to there. Hit the like button on your way out. And I know some people have been putting it in the chat already, but I just want a reminder. Sin Studios are giving away free copies of Swordsman on PSVR 2. So if you would like one, as soon as the live stream is over, the comments will open on this video. All you need to do is type in the comments, #SwordsmanVR, and just write a sentence of why you'd like a copy of the game. Sin Studio will then look through the comments, choose a few of you, and send some free keys on your way. So yeah, if you want Swordsman, as soon as this live stream's over, on this page, you might just want to refresh it. There'll be a comment section below, not the live chat. Type in there, and Sin Studios will get some free copies out to you. Much love to you all. We would normally do the word game, but this has just been such a wonderful episode, and I'm just making sure I haven't missed anything else out on... Oh, yes, there were a few things. I asked people to share on Twitter their first impressions of PSVR 2, and I had some wonderful ones. We had this one from PSVR Zest. I just love that with his little stickies on there. He had to finish work before he could play it, but he got there in the end. And I love this one. Look at this one. Still making my impressions video, but GT7 totally effing amazing, and I never swear. Plus Rose is begging everyone to get one. Look at that. So adorable. So adorable. And then there was some others. Do I have it here? I thought I had it here. Yes, much love for these people. My first impressions is that it's late. 2 more days, damn it. Much love for you. And 1 hour to wait until it gets delivered, killing me waiting. Look, some of you haven't got it yet, and I honestly have huge, huge love for you. So on that note, time to end the show. But if you have any final thoughts, now is the time to put them, because it's over to you. Love, respect, empathy, and adios till next time. Love you all, and see you in 30 minutes.
I saw you on the road. I was chasing sunsets all alone. The darkness faded, painting goodbye, big sky. Far away, but dreaming of your ocean eyes. Thought I saw you on the road. I was chasing sunsets all alone. The darkness faded, painting goodbye, big sky. I'm far away, but dreaming of your ocean eyes. Thought I saw you on the road. I was chasing sunsets